Welcome back to another Cruiser Media video. My name is Nick and I'll be your host for today's video. And today we're jumping into the second installment of editing your guys' photos. So first and foremost, we're not streaming because although that was a blast, that was like 3.5 hours straight of streaming. And that was a lot to chop up and put into a 30-minute video. Secondly, we've got our mouse cursor showing, finally. Yes, you're welcome. So now you can actually see where the mouse is going. And thirdly, we're not going to be playing Download Simulator this time because I downloaded everything and got it all sorted out before beginning the stream. Starting off with @driven lens. So the same thing as last time, we're going to be choosing 1 or 2 photos from every single folder and we're going to be blitzing through them. We got a photo taken at 25mm, f6.3 and 1/160th with the ISO at 400. Kind of some odd shooting preferences there, but nonetheless, I'm gonna go ahead and correct the horizon real quick, and then we're gonna try doing sort of like a blue hour type tone here. Wow, that Lambo is crazy. We are losing a lot of detail, as you can see, but I think this is kind of the color palette that we're gonna go with here. So we're gonna go ahead and correct this. We're gonna make that a little bit more blue, and we're going to kind of neutralize that with a little bit of the magenta on the white balance. And correct that again. Yeah, we are losing quite a bit of detail since this was shot so dark. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. And I suppose we can go ahead and bring the shadows down just a little bit more. We'll bump the whites, get some more detail in there. Drop the blacks a tad. We're going to go get rid of that positive clarity. Very basic, simple, like S-curve type deal here. All right, and as for the color grading, we're definitely going to do more of a green here in the mid-tones. And we'll go with probably do like a green-blue in the shadows. All right, so there is the final photo. So we're going to go ahead. Wait a second. That is not the before. That is not the before. Can we see the actual before? No, that's just before the DNG conversion. Well, that's... Oh, wait. Hold up. Hold on. Is this... Yes, there's the before. Okay, so here's the before. There's the after. Okay, so we got drive lens out of the way, so next we're on to Mark HW. Let's see what kind of shots we got here. What is this? Which one do we do? No, I think we're gonna do this photo, actually. So this one we don't have too much color to work with. We're gonna do more of a neutral monochrome type edit. We're going to bring the white balance down a little cooler, bring the exposure down quite a bit so that we can get these nice golden hour tones here. They're going to bump the whites up just a tad, drop the blacks, and bring the shadows up just a hair. We're going to drop the contrast as well. And now we get into the real good stuff over here. We don't want really any blues since we aren't seeing the sky, so we're going to kind of neutralize those. And then I think we're going to do, in the mid-tones, we're going to do some red, orange. Bring that down just a little bit because it doesn't need to be all too prominent. As for the shadows, I think we're going to go with more of a... Ooh, that's looking really nice right there. So I think we're going to do more of an orange here, and then we're going to drop that. And we're going to actually decrease that just a little bit. Now we've got the highlights. So obviously the highlights, we want that to be like kind of neutral. So we're going to bring those down a little bit and we'll bring that side difficult. It's very touchy right here. What is this? Is this an oil stain from the BMW? It wouldn't doubt. I would not doubt it if that was an oil stain from the BMW getting over to this shoot location. Okay, we'll do a little bit of defringing since we got a black subject here so we can get rid of any fringe. And I think we might just do a little bit of a hue correction for the green primary. Probably just a little bit for the red. We'll make that. Yeah, there we go. Now we're getting artsy in here. Quick view of the before and the after. Very simple, but you can make a very simple, colorless photo look pretty dang good in post. So there's always corrections for it, always. Next, we're going over to @AnthonyLB Let's see what we got in here. Got some. This would actually be kind of a challenging one because we are in broad daylight, which is always a challenge. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of take a different approach on this one. We're going to drop the contrast a bit. We're going to drop the exposure, and we're going to do more of a cool edit here, but we're going to kind of recover later. So this is kind of like the way that I would make a flat photo in air quotes. We're going to bring clarity down just a little bit. We'll bring the texture down as well. And we're going to do a little bit more bump on the contrast. We need a little bit more of the magentas up here. And that's going to kind of flatten the photo. So that's what we're going for here because we're shooting in direct, harsh sunlight, it seems. So that's what we're going for here, is just flat. So I think here we're relatively close to being finished. We're going to kind of play with the hues a little bit. And somewhat of the saturations, we kind of want to tone it down on the greens because if you've got greens like this, that's super distracting from the subject. So we're going to tone down the greens. And since there's so much happening in the background itself, we really got to put more of a focus on the subject here. Now, if we wanted to go really crazy, we'd really touch this photo up here in Photoshop, get rid of this here, get rid of this, and it would essentially look straight out of a commercial. And as for that, I think that this one's pretty much wrapped up. We're going to kind of adjust the white balance just a little bit more. We don't want too much warmth or too much cool here, but there we go. Go ahead and take a look at the before and after. Before, after. So this one, a little bit more flat, not in my normal style edit because typically I avoid shooting during harsh daylight. But if I were to, this is exactly the route that I would go. LB Photo, thank you for the submissions. And I've got Dev Flicks. We've got a homie here, Devin A4. So these are some of his pictures. So these ones are always kind of tricky because you've got a lot of blue here, especially on a silver car. This entire shadow is blue, and then of course you've got the highlights leaking through the trees. These ones are kind of tricky because you don't want to blow this out too much, these highlight areas here, and they're a little bit tricky. Show that this was a golden hour shot. Even if it wasn't, we can kind of fake it. We're going to bring the white balance actually down more towards the greens on the tint. And we're going to bump the warmth up just a little bit more. Well, that's kind of actually that's not working out. So we're going to kind of neutralize that, the magenta and the blues here. This one's kind of a tricky one. Not going to lie. A little bit of a tricky one here. And we're also going to add a linear gradient to the top of the photo and kind of bring up the exposure up here, so that it looks like we've got a lot more light up there than we actually do. We're going to drop the clarity down just a little bit, but we're going to increase the contrast. And I would say that that's pretty much finished off what I would be at. I'd say that that's pretty much like a good baseline for where I would end this sort of photo, this sort of set. So there's a quick before and a quick after. Okay, and so that was Dev Flicks. That's the homie A4. Devin, go ahead and give him a follow. So next we are on to JTS Takes. Now these are looking good. This first thumbnail here and this one as well of the Volvo. We got a little bit of a foggy morning, it looks like. So I think we're gonna work with this G82 first off, because I'm a big stand for the G82s. I love me a good G82. The only problem is it's gray, and I'm not too much of a fan of the grays. So this one's going to be another kind of challenging one as well. Let's see what we got. 35 millimeter f4 1/50th. Up just a little bit more. We're gonna there's really dramatic lighting here. A very dark shadow, so we're gonna try and fix this as well with a linear gradient. Try and just add a little bit of style there. As for the color grade, we want the highlights to be kind of in between orange and red, and we're gonna go ahead and take a look at how that looks like when it's super saturated. All right, there we go. For the mid-tones as well, I think we'll go with more of a... because our mid-tones are really going to affect the color of the car as well. So we're going to do kind of a similar here. This one's just leaning a little bit more yellow. We'll drag the saturation down just a little bit on that. Dash of dehaze. And we're going to kind of neutralize the temperature here. We're going to make it a little bit more blue than orange, or a little bit more cool than warm, if you will. And there we are. I think that that is a finished photo. We're going to do this. We're going to bring this back a little bit, and we're going to kind of lift the exposure here so that it matches the rest of the photo. We've all obviously got most of our highlights over here and a very bad shadow over here. So we really want to get rid of that. So we're just going to quick linear gradient, bump the exposure, and there we go. Boom, there we go. That's actually a great photo. So thank you, JTS Takes. Once again, great submissions. So this is at Teed Times, TEED. Wait, hold on, hold up. Got a little bit of plane action in the background here. That does not look like 1250 ISO. That is wild. All right, let's get back to the edit. So we're going to bump the exposure first and foremost. This is kind of like the baseline, how I establish like the general lighting direction that I want to go in a shot. I'm gonna bring the whites up, and then I kind of just toy with everything after bringing the exposure up, so I know like where I'm gonna take the lighting at these individual settings. Honestly, this picture is pretty much wrapped up. I'm not very well versed in my night shots. I'm actively pushing myself to shoot more at night, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge for sure, breaking out of the norm. Highlights, we're going to bring that down to about green aqua, and then deep blue here for the shadows. And we do actually need a little bit of correction here. We're going to change the saturation on the blue. We're going to bring that up. Nice little before and after. Quick look. That one's a little bit deep fried, but that's a great shot. T Dimes, GG. I appreciate the submissions. Thank you very much. All right, next we're on to Zuper Snap Media. There's his handle right there. So we actually are going to bump the contrast up a little bit. We're going to take the highlights down. We're going to take the shadows up a bit. Ugh. Actually not liking too much how this one's turning out. Here we go. Here's something a little bit better. We'll go and kick the exposure up. There we go. Now we're cooking. All right, contrast down. Highlights down. Shadows up. Whites. We could go either way. We don't want to make this one too crispy, but we also don't want to make it too flat. Doing it too harsh. And I actually don't know if this car is black or not. It looks black, but it's so blue here. Very nice. I think about where I would call it. There we go, a little before and after comparison. Before and after. That was great. Let's go ahead and transfer just real quick. We'll just run a quick experiment here. We're gonna drop this edit over here on the Mazda. I don't even know what this is. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. I should have edited this one, but that looks so much better. So here we've actually got at CK 50th. Oof, these are gonna be rough. We'll bring a little bit of the warmth back though, just a little bit more. We're going to get rid of the crushed blacks in the little S curve that we got going on here. We're actually gonna bring the shadows down and the highlights up in this one. Is a wrapped edit. I think that we are good right there. We're gonna bring that just a little bit more towards the aqua. Okay, there we go. Quick before and after comparison. I'm not used to editing such compressed car photos, My standard lens is a 35 millimeter, so this is actually a very nice challenge. I'm really not used to doing this, and I believe this guy shoots on Canon too, so no wonder all my presets were cooked. Well, either way, thank you Caden at CK50th for the submission. All right, next we're on to Christian Hayes. I have been looking forward to editing this guy's pictures since the first installment of this series, so I'm very excited to get to Christian Hayes. I actually met this dude the other day. I did meet this guy a little bit ago. Super cool dude. Go ahead and give him a follow. His @ is shays.pv. So we're going to actually do 2 of this guy's photos because, first off, this is just a great shot as it is. Obviously, aside from the little Honda Odyssey way off in the background, but we're just going to go ahead and ignore that for now. So this one's going to be more of a golden hour-esque tone here because we've got all of these highlights here in the background. We got the beautiful blue sky. This is an incredible photo. It's incredibly well composed. This is like once in a lifetime roller right here. We're gonna do, this is gonna be a difficult one. I'm being honest. You must not shoot on a Sony. We're definitely gonna need to drop the contrast on this one because that's just far too much. Bring the shadows up, and we're also going to need to get rid of the blues. We're going to bump the whites up a little bit. So this is going to be a very vibrant picture. All right. Anyways, let's go ahead. We'll drop the blue saturation, not too much because otherwise it's going to make it look terrible. Over to the sky mask, and we're going to drop this down, and we need to make it just a little bit more warm. I'm going to bump the highlights. Rare case where you got to bump the highlights in the sky. Quick before and after view for everybody. Boom, before, after. MC12 McLaren. Harsh daylight yet again. This one's going to be hard. White car, broad daylight. White car, broad daylight. That is like the worst combo possible. So we're going to go with something like this. Drop that. Exposure. Oof. This is a very difficult one. I don't know why the blue saturation was up so high. We'll drop the shadows a little bit. We'll drop the whites. We're going to kind of flatten this one out as well. And we got to get rid of that horrible, like, okay, so we're going to bring, we're going to do a little bit of red here. I think all that there, you're not going to be able to do much with broad daylight white car. That's a very tricky one. There's only so much that you can do before you absolutely just deep fry the photo and really cook it. But I also don't think that this was a RAW. This is a JPEG. So that in and of itself, doesn't allow for too many fine adjustments that you're really going to suffer if you're editing JPEGs as opposed to RAWs in the color grading and the lighting. That's where you're going to see your, and just the dynamic range of the highlights and the shadows. That's really going to suffer if you're shooting JPEG. So try to avoid that. I don't know if this might have been, a JPEG that was rendered from like Lightroom, maybe just in RAW format, or it could have been shot as JPEG. If it was shot as JPEG, change that to RAW. Next, we've got Nusausiu at Nusausiu. I don't know. Another fella from out of the country, it looks like. So go ahead and pick. Wait, hold on, hold up. I think I know this car from Instagram. What does this one have to offer? This is a nice shot as well. Very nice shot. I think we could actually work with this one better. Bring that down. Neutralize that. Neutralize the white balance. Fix the horizon. Center the car. This car's almost perfectly centered. So already just a fantastic photo as it is. Whites, we're going to make this another flat type of edit. This looks a little bit better with actually positive contrast. If you remember from the first part of this video, most of my edits consist of negative contrast, somewhere in between like -60 and -20. So this one definitely needs more contrast. It's a very bland photo without it. There we go. Drop the exposure just a little bit more. Boom. There we go. Very basic top-down photo, but this is a great shot as it is. There we go, a little before and after for you guys. So, and actually the red pretty much stayed true red without having to go adjust the hues in the magenta and the purple under the HSL tab. So thank you, Nusasiu. I'll have his @ in the description so you can go ahead and follow him. I'm not going to botch that, trying to pronounce it again. Okay, we've got two left. We've got OT Photography coming next. This is another fellow shooter from Colorado here. We're going to pick this bagged... What is this? Is this a M8? I don't want to... Is it an M5? M8? I don't know. Something like that. I'm going to need to kind of neutralize that, because really the only gold orange that's going on is the color of the trees. And this was a very dark shot as well. So, and we don't really want to make this the orange too red, because that's going to make it obviously look way too artificial. We're going to just go ahead and bump the luminance a little bit on the orange and the yellow. Color grade is looking pretty solid. Highlights, we're going to go with all done. Before and after. Yet another simple, but good looking edit. Great shot. Thank you, OT Photography. Okay, last we've got Rob Lenz. And he actually included his edits as well. That's a cool edit right there. Well, it's giving me a little vintage vibe. There, we're gonna go ahead and drop the exposure a little bit and drop the contrast, because this is gonna be more of a flat edit again. So with that, we're gonna kind of combat that with a little bit of an increase on the contrast. We could do a pretty cool crop here, but I'm gonna kind of avoid that just for time's sake. Saturation, we definitely can drop some of the blues. We don't really need all those blues. Luminance as well, we can go ahead and we've got a red subject showing up almost perfectly red, almost. Go and brighten those up a little bit. That most of the magenta and the purple is back here. This is a very well exposed photo right off the bat, so there's only so much that you can do with it in terms of lighting. I just knocked the crap out of my microphone. All right, and there we are. So here is his edit. We actually have very similar edit. His is more contrasty and kind of a little bit brighter, a little bit more vibrant. Here's this. We're gonna do a quick before and after. Boom. There we go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for today's video. I hope that you did enjoy. We've got part 3 coming soon when I decide not to be super lazy and actually put it out. I've been putting this off for months now, so it's finally time to get back on the ball, knock these out so that we can start putting out some more videos, different videos rather than this, because this has been an ongoing project for months, and it's all due to procrastination. So anyways, I hope that you did enjoy, and I'll see y'all in the next video. On Instagram that I'm going to be answering up here on the iPad, and I've also got some more here, so we are going to be, oh my god, there's a lot. Anyways, we have Zach with a great question. First, to kick it off this episode, we're starting with Zach. These are again the old ones that I asked a few days ago here, so